in the last part we added some data to our database. So in this part we're gonna do it the exact same thing but with the better way, because in the last part we added just one key, but in this part we're gonna add multiple of those keys. So first of all, I'm gonna open up my project and make sure that you have added all the dependencies in your build.gradle file. Now the next thing that I want to do is I want to create set the Android context for our Firebase. So how you can do that, now remember, if in the previous part I told you guys that you just type in Firebase and then set an Android context and set it to this, but that'll just do for this page. What if you want to add it for every page? You don't want to do it again and again. This may cause little problems too, but if we do it by creating an application file, this will work, because that'll fire up every time you work on any activity. So all you need to do is right click on your class file, create a new class, and this is going to be same as your app name. Now hit OK and type in extends application. So this is extending from the application. Now create onCreate method, and inside the onCreate method you're going to say Firebase dot set Android context this. So that way we're gonna access this Android context, will not access, actually fire up on every page. Now all we need to do is wire up this thing with our activity Android manifest file, because that way this will run for each and every page that we have in our application. So now you can go here and type in name and the name of the class file. So next thing that I want to do is I want to create a little layout for our page here. So here you can see that it's empty right now, so I'm going to add a few things to it. So first thing is going to be plain text. Now I'm going to change the width to match parent, and next is going to be a button, and again width to match parent. So now select the layout, and I'm going to add a little padding to it, because we don't want everything to just be full width. So I'm going to add padding, and for this one we'll add a little margin from the top, maybe 30 dp, and for this one again do the same thing. So now I'm going to add a little text, and we're going to give them IDs. So first of all, let's give them an ID. So this is going to be add button, and this is going to be value field. Now the next thing is setting up a hint for this one. So I'm going to say value and text for this one. So let's type in add value to Firebase. So now let's create reference for these two in our main activity file. So I'm going to type in private, first one is edit text, and I'm going to name it m value field, and next we have button, m add button. So now let's set the references. So m value field is going to be equal to edit text find view by id r.id dot value field, and our button is going to be equal to button find view by id r.id dot, and we have add button over here. Oops. So let me just change it from here to here. All right, so now we have created the references for our button and the text field. Now we need to add a reference to our Firebase database, obviously. So Firebase m root ref. So I'm naming it root ref because we are going to reference this as a root, and then we're going to create a little child inside this one. So I'm going to say before this m root ref equals new Firebase, and inside this let's paste in our link as a string. All right, so now we have inserted the link inside this one. So now next thing that I want to do I want to add an object to it. So I'm going to say users, and that way if you click this button, this way you created object over here. Now you can add little childs to this one, maybe type in some key name and the value to it. So I'll just do it by coding. I'm going to leave it like that. So that was just an idea of how you create an object and add childs to that object. So let's do it here. So instead of adding a child to this one, I'm going to just directly type in users. So it's the same thing as you type in add it here. Instead of adding it here, you can do is type it here. So that way we are creating an object. Now inside users, you can add like name, add some more content. So that way if you even open up your root directory, you can see that this has an object, child object, and so inside the child object we have child key and the value. So all right, next thing that I want to do is when the user clicks add button, set on click listener, new on click listener. So whenever user clicks the button, what it should do is get the value from the text field. So I'm going to say string value, and let's type in m value fields dot get text dot to string. So that'll convert it to string as well. Now the next thing, let's say Firebase child ref, and it is going to be equal to m root ref dot child. So we can type in name as a child because that's the name of our key child inside the object, that is the users. All right, so the next thing we want to do is child ref dot set value, and we can set it to some value. So that is going to be equal to the value that we have typed in. So now if you hit the play button, app run button, let's see what happens. So hopefully we don't get any errors. Let the build finish. All right, installing the APK. Okay, so here we are. The app is running now, and you can see that. Open up your console and type in some text, add value to Firebase. Now you can see that it has added the text to our name key child. Okay, so now if I type in something else, just type whatever you want, hit the button, you can see that it's changing the value. But instead what we wanted was add multiple childs to it. So that seems kind of a problem because every time we click this button, what it does, it adds the value to the child. Now we don't want it to add to the child, we want it to create a new child. Now how you can do that? One way is you can manually type in something like profession, and you can set value something whatever you want. Now if you run the app, now you can see that we have our app running. Now if I type in something and hit add button, it creates a new key that is profession because we have defined it over here. Now there arises one more problem. Now if I type in something else or maybe some other text, let's type in some other text and hit the add button. Now it's going to set that to our profession key. So that's again a problem. We are not creating a new child, we are just keep on adding it to the previous one. Now there's one way to do it, and that is, let's just say we don't want this child object right now. What we want to do is mroot ref, because that's our child object, the users, and inside that I'm going to say child, and let's not name it, push, and let's type in, okay, so that won't work, wait, so let's say push dot set value, and let's type in, okay, instead of typing in, just set it to the text field, and let's hit the play button. Now let it finish the Gradle build, and within a few seconds we'll be ready to test this. Alright, installing restart patches. So now our app is running. Now if I type some text inside this edit text and hit add button, you may notice that it has added a child to it, but the key is not what we have defined, because we haven't even defined the key. What this push function does, that it adds a key with a unique ID. So a unique ID is kind of like something that's pretty much unique. So I guess you'll understand what a unique ID is, because every time you create some field now, set some text, hit add, it creates a new ID, and that won't match with any other IDs that this object has. So that's like exactly like what we wanted to do. We wanted to add a new value every time user type in something and hit add. So that solves our problem, but but it causes one more problem, and that is the key is not defined by us. So how you can do that? There's one way to do it, but that's pretty much the last way. Okay, so I'm going to add one more field over here, and let's say it like this, and I'm going to put it below this one. Let's add hint to key ID to key value. All right, so now move to our Firebase app. Let's create a private edit text m key value, and let's say reference set m key value equals edit text find view by id r.id dot key value. So we have set the reference. Now what we can do is let's remove this thing. So now we are creating a new child ref, and this time what we are going to do is, instead of providing it from here, we're gonna do it from our text view, edit text, sorry. So I'm gonna say m key value dot get text dot to string. All right, so inside this I'm gonna say key. So this way, all right, but you also need to set this to child ref and hit fire app. There are still many things to explore for this part. Is that there are still a few little problems we will get in this app here that I'll show you once it gets running. Here it started, so I'm going to type in some key name. So I'm going to say age and type in some value, hit add. It adds a new what do you call it, age. That's causing a problem, because all right, let's delete it, because we haven't removed the push here. Now push, what it does, it creates a child key with an unique ID, as you guys may remember, and we don't want that. We just want to set directly the value of key to the value that we are providing. So let the app run. And now it started. Let's say age 21, hit add. Now it adds the key, and I'm gonna say some value, and this is some value. All right, so hit add button. It's now adding more text to it, more values to it. So the main problem is solved, but there's one little problem again. Name, and let's say Alice, and hit add value. Now you may notice that it hasn't created any new, but it has changed the previous one. So that's a little problem, but it actually isn't a problem, because same user won't have two key names with the same name. So if you want to add some other users, how you do it, it usually works something like this. Let me delete it. So first thing goes is the user ID. So that will be something like this, some random ID. Then inside that we type in name, add more values to it, age, and profession. All right, so if you want a new user, that'll go like this. It will add the ID of that user, then again, all right, sorry, the ID, and again it will have its name and age, add profession. So that pretty much goes something like this, not exactly the same, but that will be a little better for us to understand, because that will surely have a user object before this one, the parent of this one. So pretty basically this is what we can do by setting the value function for our Firebase, and surely we can create a lots of app using this function. And this is it for this part, and in the next part we're going to start retrieving the data from our database, and we're going to start creating some little apps, and then we'll move forward towards some advanced apps. So till then, subscribe the channel, like the video if you really liked it, and I'm gonna keep updating with some new videos every day. So see you guys later.